all, it's Shelly with Strategic Sales Advisors. And today on my channel, Building Sustainable Sales, I want to start a new series talking about pipeline and process. And this week we're going to talk a little bit about new pipeline development or new business development. And I want to focus and spend a little bit of time talking about marketing versus sales, and then getting into the aspect of building an ideal client profile. So let's jump on in and talk about sales versus marketing when it comes to new business development and filling up that pipeline. It's really important that we understand what roles each of these disciplines play. And when we start to talk about marketing and sales, and B2B or B2C business to business or business to consumer sales, it's really important that we understand the strengths and that each of these disciplines play as well. So let's start with marketing. And while that is not my primary focus, nor is it my primary expertise, I think many people who have led teams in the past in big companies or in the industry on the sales side or the marketing side have had revenue generation underneath them and have had people work in both disciplines. So in my experience, as I give you this information, marketing is really geared towards a couple of different things. And the first thing it's geared towards is brand awareness. Most companies that launch, right, unless you have a pretty significant name behind you, most companies that launch need to be found in the world. And a lot of that is driven by marketing. And in the past, that was done through traditional marketing, through newspapers, through magazines, and in those spaces. Nowadays, marketing is focused a lot more digitally on different networks in different spaces. But what it is trying to do is it is trying to make the world aware of your company, your organization, your business, and your brand. So that's where the things kind of start. It's at the very top of the pipeline. It's that awareness campaign. The next thing that marketing can do is, once that awareness has happened in the marketplace, is then you start to see things like interest, interest from potential clients or potential customers of your business. And so the two things that marketing can generate for your company, that brand awareness and then the initial interest, that warmth towards your organization, are where key places that can drive performance for you. In business to business, that's fantastic, right? Other businesses aware what you do, what you can provide, what your solutions are, and then that generate that initial interest in you as an organization. Where marketing plays an even bigger role is when you start talking business to consumer. Consumers, direct to consumer business, whether it's e-commerce or, even wine sale, there's a lot of different types of things that can be business to consumer. And in that space, marketing plays a much heavier role than sales does in driving and generating new sales. Because these people typically are buyers or purveyors that come into a shop, right, or buying online, then that consumer awareness, that brand awareness is critical to getting them to your sites or to your shop. And then marketing tends to then drive that decision making at that generation with limited help from sales or from floor sales, that type of thing. In the B2B space, you have a heavier load from a sales force. So marketing generates the interest, you get that warmth and awareness of you, and then it feeds into sales, into the pipeline, right? And hopefully then through the sales process, we close that business. So I wanted to kind of call out those nuances a little bit. And again, that's really high level in talking about things. But when we start talking about pipeline and building a sales process, it's good to understand that. The huge benefit on the sales side of things, especially in B2B sales, is with marketing, is that when you are feeding sales warm leads, and you'll hear that a lot, warm business opportunities, warm leads coming in through marketing, people who are already initially interested in your business, in the product or service that you offer, the likelihood of conversion or closure of that business is much higher than cold calling. And if you've been around the sales space any length of time, or if you've been around business space any length of time, you'll understand the conversation around cold calling itself. But that is another way that sales can bring in business other than just the business being aware of the organization through marketing, is through the cold calling aspect. The challenge with cold calling is you are approaching people cold, you're approaching other businesses cold, and you're having to do the awareness campaign and the discussion of your business and what you provide, the solutions that you provide, and the process takes a lot longer if you get my drift. So the marketing, the benefit to business space in marketing is not just in the awareness, not just in the warm leads coming in, but because those are coming in lead, you're maximizing the performance of your sales. Sales is expensive. And so if you can maximize the time, energy, and resources in your sales department by having them work through warm leads, then you're actually not only bringing in a higher likelihood of closure rate, but you're also maximizing the efficiency of the team. So I'm going to pause there on that and hop into the next thing that I want to talk about here at the beginning when we're talking in this quote unquote prospecting space. And the next one that I really want to talk about, or the next area that I want to talk about, is sort of building an ideal client profile. And let's be honest, we all know that there's no such thing as an ideal client. There's no perfect out there. But what we want to do is we want to get out of a space of, and I think I've talked about this before in my strategy series, we want to get out of the space of trying to please everyone. Because if we're trying to please or create solutions in our business for every client or every possible customer out there, we will create solutions for no one. And so if we have a hyper understanding of the types and behavior patterns of the clients that we want out there that we're pursuing, then it's a much higher likelihood we can build more strategic marketing, right? So more brand awareness campaigns, we can bring in those warm leads, and we have a higher likelihood of closure rate. So when we start to talk about ideal client profile, there's a couple of key places that we focus in on that. And it can be done multiple ways. If you're an existing business and you've been around a while and you've worked with clients or customers out there through your business, what we can do is we can focus in on reviewing that data itself and really getting a hyper understanding of the clients that we have worked with in the past that have been good customers, and maybe those that haven't been the best customers to work with or the best clients to work with. We can start to look at the behavior characteristics of the good versus the not so good. We can look at the percentage of those types of customers that do actually go to closure versus that don't go to closure. We can look at the time it takes for someone by client personality type or client profile type. How long does it take them to go through our sales process and in that pipeline down to closure? We can look at a lot of different statistics in our information. The only way we can do this is if we're tracking that. And so if you're not tracking this behavior as an existing company or organization out there, then you're going to be challenged in being able to build a really good client profile out the gate. You're going to start working from assumptions versus working from hard data. And that's not going to be optimal, especially if you do have the data. Now, if you're a brand new company out there and you're just building your pipeline, you're just diving in, you're not going to have that. But you can make some really smart assumptions on your client, on your potential ideal client, by looking at them from the perspective of what brings you joy. And I think so often we get into a situation where we don't approach our business aspect of, I want to work and I want to support businesses out there with my business that I enjoy being with, that I enjoy working with. And that can be a major situation if we are not focused in on those that bring us joy. And we'll talk about that later in a little bit more detail, but that is the first thing that you can have a conversation around. And let me give you a great example. I was working with a marketing company here locally, and the CEO of the company and I were sitting down over coffee, and she came to me and she said, "Shelly, listen, I hate doing the sales process, and I'm really the only one within my company. It's small within my company that does the sales process, and I don't feel like we're getting the best clients out of it. You know, the clients that we are booking are taking a while. A lot of times we're putting out these great big prospectus after talking with a client and finding out what their needs are, and then they ghost us and they go away. And not only that, but then we'll close some accounts and bring them on. And then, we get scope creep, we get all of these other things. We get negative actions, and it's actually costing more than we're actually charging at the end of the day. So I don't know what we can do to really bring it back to a situation of getting my company back moving in the right direction and me to enjoy sales again. And there were a lot of clues in there and a lot of discussions and conversations. And the first thing that I asked her was, have you tracked those accounts or those clients that you've been working with that are costing you money, right? What type of solution are those accounts approaching you with? Or, what types of challenges are they approaching you with? Is it a situation where you just don't have the capabilities internally to support them because of what they're looking for? Or is it because there hasn't been something set aside from the beginning and the conversation just hasn't connected enough of what you expect to do versus what they expect you to do, right? Is the communication not working? Is the culture fit not working? So we did a little bit of work around that. We did some client profiling. And then I just said to her, at the end of the day, what clients bring you joy? Which ones do you guys enjoy working with and not only fulfill you, but that also are bringing in that revenue that you want to support and energize? And, after some discussions, she said, you know what, we love to work with nonprofits. We love supporting and helping nonprofits grow their revenue, because when they're growing their revenue and we can help them get that awareness and we can help them get everything that they need from a revenue standpoint, we know that that's doing good in the world, and that brings us joy. And I said, then why don't you specialize? Why don't you tailor your solutions to that? Why don't you build a customer profile around nonprofits and how you would approach them? And her biggest concern was, well, if I narrow down my, potential consumer, my potential customer pool of candidates, then won't I, reduce my revenue? And I actually said, going back to sort of that warm lead situation that I was talking about between marketing and sales, actually, if you can narrow down and zero in on your customer profiles, your client profiles, whether that's one profile or 4 profiles, if you can really get strategic about narrowing in on your profiles for your clients, you will actually do much better in your conversion. So you have a smaller pool of potential client candidates, but because you are providing them with unique solutions that fit what they're doing and working with them brings you joy, you will actually convert more of those than the time, money, and resources it will take to try to chase everyone and close fewer accounts. We worked a lot on that. We got things narrowed down. We figured out where those clients lived, and they started to go after that. And, it proves out the point. Their business grew. And not only did their business grow, but the internal excitement around what they were doing from her and her team was much more, that energy of the team getting excited about their clients again. You have your team excited, and the business just flourished. So I want to leave at that point, and I want to remind you things. Marketing and sales are not the same thing, but they do align and work together. And it's really understanding where they fit and what spaces they're in. And then once we get that and we get those warm leads in, before we can figure out who do we want to go after, we have to build and develop that client profile so we know, one, who to market to, and then who are those likely candidates to close? Who are those ones that we can process through the pipeline and down into conversion, and who do we have joy working with at the end of the day? So I hope some of this helps you. I'm working on this series for pipeline and process, so stick around. We'll have more information. And with that, I'm going to leave you today. If you got something out of this, please hit the like and subscribe button and follow along. And join us in conversation by leaving us some comments. Thanks so much, guys. Talk to you later.